Hey everyone, it's Tim and Falcon Knight. I'm back with another episode of Road to 1K. This is like the fifth time I'm trying to record this episode, for fuck's sake. Um, anyways, not sure what happened to a replay for these two, so I'm going to be skipping them. They're only like a 10-day and 11-day match anyways, so like, probably not worth bothering to watch them anyways, so. Instead, we're going to watch this 12-day match, which is going to be much more interesting than those two. So, it's going to be a Tier 4 High Funds match on the map Cylindrical Tubes. And it's going to be a bit of an mirror match as well. Yeah, so this is Cylindrical Tubes. It looks a little bit small because it's nice and zoomed out because it's long. But the thing about this is like it makes it really nice for like replays because you can zoom in pretty nicely. That being said, there are like a bunch of things going on with this map. First off, you got this little airport island here. So one of the things that you're going to need to worry about in this map is you're going to need to figure out when you're going to want to put the transport copter back here to grab your second airport. And then you're going to want to capture that. So you're going to be basically skipping a turn of airport production at some point in order to double it in a couple of turns, basically. So you're definitely going to want to play around that very early on with your opening and make sure that you have your spending planned out so that you're not really going to be losing out on like a battle copter if you for when you want to land here with your transport copter. You also have these corner islands. There are like so many fucking corner islands on this map. Most of them you can access with like even a black boat. Like you could get a black boat all the way around here theoretically. But the ones in the left and right corner, you need a transport copter to get to. So let's say on the off chance you got a black boat all the way around to like here, you would need to get a you can try and capture these two properties. You need to get a transport copter for that, and then at that point, like you're within a turn of these airports, like there's no real chance of these going to the opposite side player. Like they're basically two safe properties, but because of the transport copter, because they're sort of locked off from the rest of the map, it does make it important for you to get like even a second transport copter. Maybe like I feel like 2 transport copters and a lander are like a pretty good opening for this map because it allows you to start contesting this area here with the comm tower pretty early on from this base. Lets you grab the corner properties pretty quickly. Lets you grab these corner properties quickly with the second transport copter. So yeah, and then after that you can get a little bit of infantry boosting from wherever built at these production bases as well. So that's pretty important. But yeah, I think the comm towers I want to go into a little bit more as well because they're pretty far from the bases, meaning that like they're actually relatively easy to keep contested because you can just keep on offloading infantry or even vehicles like a neo tank. Even if you want, you could get across this small little strafe land here and then keep your opponent off of this. If you want, you could like body lock it or whatever. So you could really make it difficult for your opponent to grab this or even try to grab it yourself from this property. I believe it is a bit easier for this player to grab it overall, but because they're going to be able to ferry a lot of units from these two bases straight to this if he wants to. But obviously you can like attack with your units pretty easily as well. So you're going to sort of be forcing them to bring in the anti-air here. I honestly, sending infantry across this strait does come out to a pretty early anti-air from your opponent here just to deal with them as well as your air units. So yeah, it's more of a distraction really, where you're sending your infantry over here sort of to like to maybe try and get a property or two, but mainly just to keep your opponent occupied. While you try to push hard on this side to grab all of this stuff, and then sort of try and get it to the middle, and then get the corner properties early on if you can. You can even like send a funny transport copter towards these properties a little bit to try and grab these two properties. It's just you're gonna need like a battlecopter to back it up to get your opponent's infantry off of them. So, past all that, that's the map taken care of, more or less. I do still need to talk about the CO picks for this map. And, well, let's just be real, it's Adder. And the reason for that is, out of everyone in Tier 4, well, actually, I'll just go to the create game and load the row 1. But like, out of everyone in Tier 4, which is all of you guys plus Grit, the only one with like good battlecopters is, well, with really good battlecopters is Adder, because he gets the movement on them. And that's, honestly, like, the difference between having movement on your battlecopters and not having movement on your battlecopters is pretty insane. Because having the battlecopter movement lets you just spam them a lot more, gives you a lot more flexibility with them, allows you to sort of just zone out your opponent's battlecopters a little bit, especially once you get to the point where you have extra movement on them. And because of how, I guess, abrasive? Not abrasive, I guess volatile battlecopters can be, because even battlecopter after battlecopter is like, if you get a first strike on your opponent's battlecopter, that's a really good engagement. Whereas if you get a first strike on your opponent's tank, depending on the terrain, it's like not that big of a deal. So having that extra movement on your battlecopters is really important. And then Adder just having the ability to spam his little power all the time, whereas Cole, like Cole has the road firepower thing, I guess, but like there aren't that many roads on this map. I don't think there's even a single property on this map that Cole can break into with his extra road firepower. Because like day to day, Jess can break into the cities with her vehicles. Jake can break into a couple. Once you get the comm tower, because then you'll be at 20% total, and you need 20% total to break into cities. Jake can do that from the plains here for a couple of these, and Jess can as well with her vehicles. But like, honestly, it doesn't really matter, especially in high funds, because you can just spam battlecopters and then overwhelm your opponent that way. And having Jess's bad battlecopter firepower, or even Jake's extra firepower on the battlecopter isn't even necessarily that good, because it's not even into that many spaces over here. Oh, and also Jake can't spam movement powers, and he doesn't get an extra movement on his battlecopter anyway. So, like, just looking at the win rates for all the COs, like, Adder is one of the only ones that has above 50. And so does Kindle, and so does Conby. Like, it's kind of busted tier COs, at least in their tier, that are good on this map. And then they just completely overwhelm their opponents on this map. Grit's not good on this map. It's a 2-airport map. The production centers are pretty spread out, so like you could easily just spam units north towards this guy, overwhelm it before he has a chance to get his artillery block sent all the way down here. And then even if he does have the artillery block, like you can just spam air units and then deal with him that way. So Grit's not good. If you're playing tier 4 on this map, you just gotta pick Adder. It's a no-brainer. It's why both me and my opponent picked him, it's like, no. You just can't pick anyone else. Which is, I guess it's a bit boring, but whatever. Add her gameplay, right? Add her gameplay. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the replay now. Starting off here, you've got the FTA counter thing with the already captured property to give player 2 a little bit of extra money. And that's pretty common on high funds. What this does, I feel like in most of these, I honestly feel like in a lot of these maps, it gives player 2 an edge because they can get an extra transport copter out if they want, turn 1. And then they can just boost a little bit. They get a nice little buff out of it. And they also get an advantage on getting to this base as well. So they always start with they always are able to get a little bit of an extra unit count edge, which is sort of important, but honestly, like, it ends up breaking even. So I'm not even, like, I feel like it's maybe in a bit too strong for player 2, but yeah, I don't know. Looking at the map analytics, it draws even. So what do I know, right? I guess it's like perfectly balanced. My opponent goes for VAPC here. Honestly, like, no, never do that in high farms. Especially if you start with the airport, like, just get an extra transport copter. There's no real reason to waste one of your bases on an APC. Of course, there are a couple maps where APCs can be like really useful, especially if you don't like start with the airport and transports are super viable. But nah. You don't really want the APCs, let's be real. Right. So turn 4, I go for the airport block here to get this extra airport captured. Doing that nice and early on so that I can just get it out of the way and don't have to worry about it. That's kind of what you want to do as well, because you're not really going to be spamming battlecopters this super early on. I mean, I am actually, because I'm unblocking my airport just for that reason, but yeah. And this is where my opponent's building the APC instead of a transport copter. It's sort of not being that great. He's also moving into the center. Well, I'm moving to the center as well, actually, the transport copter. But he really should be prioritizing. Well, actually, that's fine, I think, because he does have a decent presence in the center compared to what I have. It's just only infantry right now, so that'll be a little bit of an issue. He goes battlecopter anti-air to counter my copters. So in response, obviously, well, I go and get this guy onto this island because you can chain there and then you get a lot of money out of that. So that's important to prioritize early on. But I also go copter tank because, like, I need to deal with the anti-air somehow. Nope. And I'm also like ahead in vehicles as well a little bit. So you're sort of able to set the flow of play based on just on who builds the first battlecopter. Which is where like player 2 can sort of do it if they're quick enough on the draw with their like transport copters here. And like if they manage their money correctly. He goes tank here, extra battlecopter. Meaning that I go tank as well in response, because I need the tank over here to sort of keep his vehicles off my infantry. Get another battlecopter. I think you're starting to see what my strategy is here. It's just spam light vehicles. Yeah, he's got the tank here to back up his infantry here as well, so that's why I built this guy here, is mainly to pivot here if I need to. Just to deal with his vehicle buildup over here. And also to sort of train up onto this guy as well a little bit. He goes for the artillery here. I believe it's to start blowing up this pipe scene, but honestly, it's like better to just wait until you have like a Neo tank or a bomber even, because you can afford those relatively easily in high funds. And also, just there isn't even much that you gain from blowing up this pipe scene in this map. It's pretty easy to just go around here. So that being said, if he had focused this down a little bit more, I think opening this might have been actually really nice for him. I've got the tank and the infantry here, so now I'm sort of burdening this area with the tank now. And then I go for a fighter as well. A good rule of thumb in high funds, well, just in general, right, is to have at least one, is to sort of match your opponent's plane count. So if your opponent has like 2 fighters and a bomber, you should have at least 3 planes in the air, preferably all fighters. But depending on how many like heavy tanks and stuff that your opponent gets out, you might want to get a bomber of your own. Because bombers are really powerful against Neo tanks. We're like, basically your opponent builds a Neo tank, you build a bomber to counter the Neo tank, and then your opponent builds a fighter to counter your bomber, and then you just start spamming fighters. It's how it sort of goes. So he goes Neo tank, and the transport got to grab this harbor. Mainly getting it for the income, honestly. Hello, honestly. Eh. I mean, a carrier could be nice, right there, but it's not like that big of a deal. Getting a battleship here would be better, honestly. Because like you can get around here and then you threaten all of this area. Of course, you're gonna have to deal with like battle copters spam for your opponent, but like ideally, you either have like a carrier or enough air units in this area. Well, I say carrier. What I meant to say was you have enough air units in this area. You basically have air superiority in this area, so you don't need to worry about battle copters moving in on you. So he's moving in pretty aggressively here against my infantry. Which he's able to do because, like, it was a bit open. And he's moving with the artillery as well to back up everything here. So I've got to back off at this point. And then he's moving in here, threatening this area with the Neo tank. But honestly, I've got the bomber here, so I don't really care as much as you might think. Like this guy capping here, he's still fine, right? I believe. For now. So this turn, day 10, take out that infantry. And then move in with the tank as well to sort of shield this cap so that I can move in like with the bomber and the battlecopter to sort of try and scare away his Neo tank, and I guess to a lesser extent the medium tank. But I'm trying to cover this capture as best as I can. I'm ahead like 8k, so that's 4 properties right now. So I want to keep that income lead for as long as I can. So sacrificing like a tank here honestly isn't the end of the world for me, especially since I've got the bomber here. So I'm sort of like drawing in his Neo tank here, if he wants to go for it. Put cap there as well. Got the infantry as well, so it makes it a little bit harder for him to like interrupt this. Is the idea. But he does start capping the comm tower here with the weakened infantry. That'll come into play a little bit later. And he starts capping my property there. Honestly, this property was a little bit aggressive for me to take. So the fact that I got it at all is just like extra money. But the more I can keep him from preventing from taking this, the longer I'll do it. Because like 2k funds a day is like, it's worth a lot. It's almost worth sacrificing an infantry every turn to interrupt her. And then instead of just straight up going to interrupt the cap there, he actually just goes for the infantry from the mountain. So he's playing it a little bit defensively here. Because he still has, like... Yeah, I'm not threatening the cap right now. I can... So I just join cap like that, nice and easily, and then... start capping these other properties, and then I go ahead and one-shot his Neo-Tank with the bomber. I believe this is consistent because he's on a shoal. Well, it's mostly consistent. I guess I could have gotten bad luck. He could have survived with 1 health. That might come into play later. But I popped sidestep there. Tank hot into the Neo-Tank there, so... but I get a very good sidestep off here, honestly. That engagement with the bomber just by itself was enough to get me the power, so anything past that, like, is just extra at this point. I get the nice interrupt there to get me an extra 2k funds. And also sort of to give this artillery an extra target to shoot at instead of my tank. Then I'm moving in with the transport copter here as well to sort of just... like, maybe go for a cap there with the transport copter. We'll see. We'll see what I'm able to do. That broke. Like, that's fine, actually. Thank God I know the trick for getting rid of that now, instead of just reloading. So my opponent gets a counter sidestep, obviously, because, like, Adder can do that, but... unfortunately for him, he got the bad luck roll. It's just so unfortunate, actually. Like, it's guaranteed without the power. With the power, it's... with both people having a power, it's no longer guaranteed, which is very unfortunate. And honestly, that was like such a big... that's a really big moment for me, because it means that it's going to be much harder for him to interrupt my cap there. He's not going to be able to just push through with his medium tank. Well, I mean, he can't really do that anyways. But... wait, let's see if this isn't that even good. Okay, 84.92. That one is a little bit less of a bad one for my opponent there. But yeah, now I can do a lot of stuff with this guy, actually. Like, 1 health battlecopter? Crap. Completely useless. 1 health bomber, though. That can do so much, because bombers are able to attack a lot of units that can't counterattack. But I think what I do with this guy is I actually send him back for repairs, because he did a good job. So day 12 comes around, and I move in with a bunch of my guys here. Get a good first strike off here. Retreat with my bomber, which I think I'm doing it sort of so that if he wants to move in with to chase with his fighter to finish it off, he can, but like I've got stuff in the area to finish off his fighter if he does that. Yeah, but he could easily go and finish off that bomber. Oh, I also built a missile. I forget when I did that. Let's actually go rewind to when I built it, because this is why I built it. It was to guard my fighter here. This guy was... It was in range. Let's see. Yeah, it was in range of getting the first strike here. So I basically went, if you want to do that, you're losing your fighter. Here, have a missile. Honestly, this is like one of the few times where a missile has actually been a good build. It didn't do that much for the rest of the map, but it did have a nice little no-fly zone in the center here for my units. Made it so that my opponent could move in with his fighter against my fighter if he wanted to. And then he's also guarding the fighter here again. So honestly, like, I completely forgot about this missile, but This is like the best missile ever, honestly. Like every turn, guarding my units, guarding my units. That's sort of what you need to do with missiles as well. It's why we're sort of okay in high funds, is because you can do a good amount with them because they can just guard your expensive units. And for one of the few things like that can consistently deal with fighters, because fighters are good against other fighters. Like it does take out like half a fighter consistently. But the missile just shoots it down straight up with the extra comm tower that's guaranteed, basically. So investing like the 12k in the missiles can be good if there isn't anything like threatening the missile. So if there's like no battlecopters in the area, no tanks in the area. Basically, if all your opponent has in an area is like a fighter, and you're trying to keep your own fighter safe, you don't have an extra fighter, you can save like a quick 8k by going for the missiles instead. But that's literally that's honestly the only use that missiles have is zoning out fighters. And also to like an extent bombers, but like bombers can just dart into missile range and take them out. So it's mainly fighters that you want to zone out with the missiles. And I believe my opponent, this is where he went ahead and resigned. So that's the match. And at this point of the game, like he's down 30k. It's only going to go get that value gap is going to get worse from here because I seized like 3 properties here. Well, 4 properties, I think. There were a lot of properties that I grabbed this turn. This one as well. I don't think there's like any coming back for my opponent in this because he didn't even have the comm tower capped at the start of this turn. He's not going to get this cap. Well, he could get this cap. If he joined caps, I think he could get this cap. And he could push a little bit in this area, but like I got control of this entire area. The air in this entire area, like I've got 1 fighter, 2 fighters, 3 fighters. He's got 2.5. So he needs to buy another fighter, but because he's down at 36k income, that's all he's really going to be able to do is build the fighter plus light vehicles at this point. So because of that, there's not really much, like, where is he going to push at this point? He can take a property off of me here. That's kind of it. Like, where is he going to be able to push? I've got Neotanks incoming on the left side. I've got bombers incoming as well. I'm going to be able to just keep on spamming units out of these 2 as well if I want, so yeah, like he's kind of done at this point. And yeah, I completely forgot about this missile. This was like, honestly, this is like one of the single most usable missiles I've ever seen in the history of Advanced Wars. So yeah, that's I think that's about it for today's match. Hope you enjoyed. Next week will be this match versus Carly on Caustic Finale. I fucking love Caustic Finale, so yeah, even though he is, I guess it's a 14-day thing, and it's Caustic Finale, so I sort of want to just watch it anyways, even though it might not be that entertaining. Yeah, we'll see. It's Adder on Caustic Finale. I think I've only done that like once. I think that was for Egg Cup. So that was a bit less of a tier 4 standard Global League type match. So I think I'm going to cover this next time. If you enjoyed, go ahead and like and subscribe and all of that other nonsense. And I will see you guys later.